Welcome back, everybody, to our next and last webinar for today, where we will hear a little bit from Kian. I hope I pronounced that correctly, about digitalization and sustainability. And I'm really happy to present you this webinar. Thank you all for attending today at EREC, and I look forward to see you again tomorrow, especially in the evening for our speed networking in our chat lounge, where you will have the possibility to meet fellow participants of the EREC and have a little chat about trends and standards in the recycling industry. Yes, and so right now let's start with the webinar. It's all ready and prepared, and I'd say let's go, have fun, see you later.
Thank you to the organizer and also all the participants for this session. Good afternoon and also good evening, depending where you're coming from. My name is Kian. I am the CEO for Heng Hiap Industries from Malaysia. We are an integrated recycling company, and then I think today, rather than making a presentation, I think I would like to take this opportunity to actually share with everybody about my story. So do take this as a case study, and then we can talk about what's happening in the space before and then during and going forward. Where does it look like and how everything looks like for plastic recycling space here in Malaysia. I have a very humble start to get into recycling. Essentially, I was born in a plastic recycler's family. My parents were collecting recyclable from household to household. So I remember, as a school kid, I will follow my parents' truck to collect recyclable. And then, to me, it was actually a very, very fun thing, because when other people see waste, my parents taught me about the worth of recyclables, on our daily life. So we look at recyclables in a very, very different way, and then we always think about how do we add value to that. Now, having said that, my parents always ask two things from us. Because they somehow feel rather ashamed being recycler. So because of this feeling, they always ask for two things among all the siblings. The first part is that my parents always try to ask all of us to get a degree, and number two is actually never become a recycler. And the interesting part is that I guess reverse psychology worked in our family, that all four siblings right now are actually in recycling. To fast forward that, we actually work our way through from the scavengers, that is collecting recyclables from household to household, to mobile collectors, then yard owners, then processor and aggregator on top of the pyramid. So for us, because we've been through the entire process, we then understand the fragmentation of the independent plastic recycling community. So that part has always been very, very a great journey for me, because then I understand the dynamic of this. Some will actually call this the informal community. So understanding, because of this informal community and the lack of standard, the minute when we got into this business, we then decided to craft an internal standard and use that standard as the de facto industrial standard. Now that basically means that with the de facto industrial standard, that becomes the playbook for the entire industry and for all the operators. Today, we are working with 28,000 independent recyclers here in Malaysia. And so this 28,000 basically follow our industrial playbook. in order to process the material accordingly. So that's what we do at this point of time. Excuse me. Take a quick sip. So that's how we do, and then share our industrial standard. And then along the way, we also go for an integrated recycling model. So when we say, excuse me, when we say integrated recycling model, we mean that besides plastic, we actually also collect metal scrap and paper scrap, and then on top of that, we have plastic recycling. We have been in metal scrap business for more than 35 years, and then we have been in paper scrap business for more than 25 years, and for plastic since year 2002, therefore 19 years. Today, we are one of the largest metal scrap supplier to local steel mills, and also one of the largest paper scrap to local paper mills. For plastic, we believe we are the largest because we are able to collect our own local scrap, and we basically will do our own separation in conjunction and in collaboration with our informal community operators. And then finally, we also do the processing, which include crushing, washing, compounding, and finally up to extrusion. Now, we integrate this entire value chain under one system as well, which traditionally, this is also a very fragmented type of process. By integrating this, we are able to reduce the logistic costs, the inefficient logistic costs. We also are able to reduce the labor costs simply because now there's a playbook to follow. And more importantly, we are able to ensure the consistency through our integrated model. That is something that we have been doing for the past 19 years. Because of our integrated model, we are then able to convert our mixed plastic scrap into a very consistent base material with integrity. And because we know exactly where the material comes from, and we understand how the feedstock is being prepared, and we then basically can convert this base material into a customized PP compound, PE compound, or rPET resin that we can export to 35 different countries. We are also global supplier to the top Korean or global home appliance maker, and also to the top Japanese automotive car makers. And these are some of the key customers that we are currently supplying our material to. Now, coming back to talk about the importance of integration is that when we first started out with the integration, our main objective is actually to reduce the cost, to make it more efficient. But because of our integration, we stumbled into a very interesting discovery, if you will. We suddenly found out that there's actually a lot of room for us to basically customize, and that customization helped us to create all kinds of niche application, whether it is something that we are making into a very stiff and very durable material like the unbreakable pallet. We can create what we call a high melt flow. Basically, we can make parts like flower pots very, very quickly by increasing the cycle time. We can make antibacterial egg trays. We can make biodegradable agricultural products, so on and so forth. So these are some of the things that we are doing in order to help our customer to enhance their USP. Yeah? So that's on mechanical recycling. Currently, with these 28,000 independent operators, we are collecting 60,000 tons of plastic scrap only from Malaysia. Our company do not import material. We believe in collecting the local domestic PCR and also OBP scrap material. So PCR is post-consumer scrap, OBP is ocean-bound scrap, which I will explain a little bit more later on regarding this range of material. So that's what we are dealing in at this point of time, and I think our integrated model for mechanical recycling has really helped us. Now that is not all the recycling that we are doing at this point of time. Besides mechanical recycling, we are also doing thermal recycling and chemical recycling. By thermal recycling, that means that we can actually, because we know how to prepare and customize this material, we actually also know the inherent calorific value. And from this inherent calorific value, we could actually compound a fuel source that is safe to burn, because we can actually control, we can detect, and also we can extract any unwanted heavy metal contaminant, so that in the process of using this RDF fuel, it's actually a substitute as a new type of coal that you can burn it without or with almost zero dioxin, because we are able to control the chloride, sulfur, and all the other unwanted substance in there. So that is the thermal recycling that we are doing. And now, when you give us any plastic scrap, we look at the mechanical property, the thermal property, and also the chemical property. Now, from the chemical property, we also channel this material into a process which we call chemical recycling. So in chemical recycling, what we do is that we collect that plastic scrap, we basically channel it to a pyrolysis process whereby we gasify plastic, and then from the gasification of plastic, we condense it back so that we then are able to produce material which is basically diesel-like. It is actually a good fuel source to substitute any diesel to power generator or to drive our forklifts. Additionally to that, that also produces a very good hydrocarbon feedstock that we call it as a pyrolysis oil, that is very much naphtha-like, and then it basically presents itself as a potential feedstock for a cradle-to-cradle or plastic-to-plastic type of conversion. So these are some of the exciting things that's happening. Now, because of all this capability, our factory is running on a renewable electricity, that when we power in 4 up to 1 megawatt, we can then continue to run our existing factory in an off-grid environment. We harvest our own rainwater, we convert plastic into electricity, and that can actually help us to continue to recycle our plastic. So that has basically been a quick intro of the journey that we have been through, basically the first half, first phase of as a stage of our development. Going, forward from there, we also start to notice some interesting evolution before COVID. Now, what happens before COVID is that we start to see that there is this huge, amazing, quiet evolution that's happening. Essentially, consumers are becoming better aware of the global plastic pollution problem, And then going forward, becoming more aware of the global ocean plastic problem. Because of the awareness and also the some of the images from the social media, whereby innocent marine lives are being hurt. One of the most powerful scene is the straw that actually pull out from the turtle's nose. I think that is a very powerful image, and it triggers something that's very profound among all the plastic user or consumer, including you and me. So then consumer decided that change has to happen, and then we have to start to expect more sustainability content within the entire plastic consumption and production economy. If this is not done properly in a circular economy pattern, eco-users are then exercising their right to reject plastic. And I think the rise of eco-consumerism becomes very, very powerful, and consumers start to reject plastic. And I think because of that, it sends a very, very powerful message to the top CPG or consumer packaging companies. So what happened is that this company would then start to, or brands would then start to come out and start making public pledges. The most common one is what we call a 25-25. Basically, is saying that in the year of 2025, 25% of all their plastic will basically have recycled plastic content in it. So therefore, making the product more sustainable and then also more circular. And I think this part also greatly make the entire life cycle more circular, and it's very much welcomed by the eco-user. If we look into the linear consumption pattern, compared to now, we then start to find out that the linear consumption pattern will not sustain. Therefore, with the rise of eco-consumerism, the consumer then start to move from a very product-centric to a circular or life cycle-centric type of model. So no longer plastic is operating on the mode whereby we are trying to make things faster, better, cheaper, but it is all about making it a lot more circular. So in the past, it is very, very silo-driven, meaning basically one stakeholders, whether it is an oil company pulling out the fossil oil, convert that to naphtha, passing it, to another resin producer, and then trying to make things faster, better, cheaper. Then send it to a product maker, again make it prettier, faster, and then finally to brand, to distribution, and then to consumer. And then after consume, it's basically discarded. So everything worked in a very silo manner. But in a life cycle centric type of model, then things happen very, very differently. That everyone then start to get together around the table and then try to collaborate at the same time, simultaneously, to achieve the most sustainable circular production and consumption pattern. So that's something that we see that fundamentally that is happening very, very quickly. And so when we notice that trend, HHI then come out with our own version of circularity model to basically make sustainability a lot simpler, a lot more inclusive, and then also a lot more continuous in its effort. So our circularity model basically cover what we call the 5C model. The 5C model basically includes these 5C. First is collect, then convert, co-create, champion, and last, conscientious consumer. So collect basically means that we will do the collection, and then we will do the conversion of the material to a very high spec material that fulfills all the standard. We will then co-create with product award-winning product designer, and then we work with champions who are the top global brand, the CPG, and finally we supply that and involve the conscientious consumer in here. The most successful application of our 5C model is in our ocean-bound plastic material. When we want to embark in our sustainability journey, we start to look into different ways that we can actually make our entire circular economy more sustainable, of which we decided to dedicate our entire bandwidth and effort into ocean-bound plastic collection. So we want to fight ocean pollution, and the best way for us to do is to then activate our informal or also our grassroots or our independent recyclers to basically the shoreline to start collecting ocean plastic. We also work with NGOs and also volunteers and local community to actually start to collect this ocean plastic. So that is the first part of that ocean. Yeah, I should rephrase ocean-bound plastic rather than ocean plastic. Maybe a quick sidetrack is that under the ocean-bound plastic definition, there are two categories of ocean-bound plastic material. One part is the ocean recovered plastic. So these are the type of plastic scrap that we literally fish out from the ocean, and then we collect, recover from the ocean. Then there is also another category that we call it ocean avoided plastic, whereby these are the plastic that we recover from river, we recover from the beach or the shorelines, and also we recovered from what we call a potential source of plastic, because this scrap, these sources, if we do not recover that, it may actually leak to the ocean. So under the ocean-bound plastic definition, we collect all of this. Yeah? So from this, we then plug it into our 5C model. We collect our ocean-bound plastic scrap. We then convert it to a very high quality material into beautiful color, such as living coral, color of the year in 2019. We also make it into the royal blue for 2020, which is the Pantone color of the year for 2020. And then this year, the color of the year is basically in yellow and gray, pairing together to signify the ages that we are operating within here. So anyway, so we then work with award-winning chair designer, and with this award-winning chair designer, we then make it into a product and work with a brand that we then supply this material to the conscientious consumer, such as the school, the hotels, the restaurant owners, so on and so forth. Now, because we are truly integrated in our entire process, so not only we can supply the chair that is 100% made from ocean-bound plastic scrap, it actually showcased that the quality is equivalent, if not even better, compared to the material that's made from new material. That is because we are able to reinforce it, with fibers, so on and so forth, so that the quality is actually best. So in terms of the product quality is we actually check all the boxes and achieve all this product quality or standard. Part two is that because we are truly integrated, we can also showcase our certification in our process. So our company are certified for ISO 9000 for quality management. We are certified for ISO 14000 for environmental management. We are also certified for 45000, which is for safety and health. We are certified for SMETA or CDEX, which is actually a social compliance audit that we have passed that. And then we are also certified for GRS, which is a global recycling standard. Last but not least, for GRS, we are certified for 100% post-consumer recycled content. Now, apart from all this, we are also certified, most importantly, for our ocean-bound plastic certification. Now, we actually are being certified by this French NGO that actually created the entire framework for ocean-bound plastic collection or certification. We need to follow a UN protocol on the collection protocol. We need to follow the entire chain of custody, provenance, or even traceability following ZPO's framework. And then on top of that, we need to ensure on the safety compliance and also the environmental compliance. So our company actually is the first company in the world to basically be certified with zero plastic oceans certification. So I think that certification is a part that's very, very important in sustainability. So we talk about product consistency, we talk about certification, now we talk about the third part, which is the traceability. I think, recycled content is not new, but what is different this time is that consumer not just wanted recycled content in the product, eco-conscious consumer actually wanted to know the ESG impact that comes together with this sustainable content. So with ESG, I'm referring to the environment, social, and governance impact. So basically that means that by doing and going through the full circularity, how much, from the environmental point of view, how much carbon credit am I saving? If let's say we benchmark that against a linear consumption and production pattern, how much carbon credit are we saving? So that part is something that's very important. From a social aspect point of view, does this create jobs? How do we ensure no child labor is actually involved, no mistreatment, no exploitation, no unwanted, some may call it a modern slavery type of situation. Rather, how can we create a more co-op type of environment whereby we share experience, we share standard, and then as a community we grow together. So that impact is very, very important. It actually has a great social impact associated with it. Next is governance. Now, governance, we talk about it, it's all about compliance to local rules and regulation. Yeah, it's compliant to all the other governmental and also, that is aligned with all the sustainability pledges and also promise. So this ESG is very important, and we must be able to track the entire food step. So here at HHI, we are able to do so. Because of our integrated model, we then are able to provide the entire traceability. Now, not only that this traceability that we can actually track the entire ESG impact, we also digitalize this. And I think that digitalization becoming increasingly more and more important. In the past, there is a lot more face-to-face, but now we depend a lot on that digitalization, because that digitalization basically shows the entire footprint. The chairs that I mentioned to you, louver chairs, if you bought the chairs, you can actually scan the chair, and then by scanning the chair, you actually see the entire traceability that comes along with it, which is something that's actually very, very powerful. So you, from your phone, once you scan that, you will see where we collect the ocean plastic, and then where we convert it into a resin, which was the factory that make it into a product, and finally, which is the brand that champions the entire 5C model. We will also showcase what is the ESG that actually comes together with that. And I think going forward, this is actually one of the most important evolution because of the rise of eco-conscious consumerism. It will foster a much stronger and much more integrated circular economy. Now, once this circular economy or this circularity collaboration is happening, we then will start to see that there is a stronger ecosystem which we envision that's going to be more inclusive and also more intelligent. So the way we see this is going to happen is that we will piece together all the 4C from the first C until the fourth C, and then it will then come together, and we will bring the eco-conscious consumer to the table, and eco-conscious consumer would then be able to see the recycled content, the ESG impact that comes along together with it, and at the same time, we will actually help eco-conscious consumer to make decision of their consumption behavior. We are able to educate, we are able to share intelligence or data or information about the decision when they make the decision for example, buying a plastic product. If it is a linear model, what would be the carbon credit, what would be the ESG impact, compared to if they were to buy a more circular product, what would be the ESG impact that actually comes together with it, and how do we make the entire production and consumption model a lot more sustainable. So in this process, we then can include the consumer in there, and with the right analysis and insights, we then are able to bring on board eco-conscious consumer who are more like an evangelist that cares a lot about environment, and also advocate and educate the other user, so that the other user will also make a more eco-friendly type of consumption behavior. Now, in the process, while we do all this, it will also create a stickiness of the consumer wanting to be part of the circular life cycle centric type of ecosystem. On top of that, we will also be able to make this group of consumer to also participate in the entire circularity model that HHI has crafted. So in this case, I use that for an example, the louver chair that I mentioned to you earlier on. Again, when we deal with this louver chair, we actually told the consumer that if they buy our louver chair, they will need to make a pledge to the store that after they collect that scrap, they will then actually send it back to us if the chair is broken or damaged, so that we can give the whole thing a second go. So from this, we are then able to track the circularity of this product that we could do. And these are some of the things that we are trying to do product by product, and then category by category, and then society by society, and hopefully we can then create a movement as soon as possible, so that it spread to the whole world. I always have this this imagination or this dream when I talk to my friend. I basically, one of the things that, when I speak to my friends and other co-workers in our company or within the industry, I always like to jump into this imagination bubble that imagine if we fast forward, if we move 50 years from now, how would plastic consumption look like? What would be that future society look like? By nature, I'm more optimistic. I actually think that 50 years from now, we will live in a smart society, whereby we the smart society, in that smart society, that everything will be made and consumed in a more sustainable way. I do not believe that we will live in a plastic-free society 50 years from now. However, I believe we will live in a plastic-neutral society 50 years from now. So this is what I believe, that we will live in a plastic-neutral society whereby whatever that we are consuming is the same quantity of plastic that we are also recycling, so that we have that perfect circularity. Currently, here in Malaysia, I believe the plastic neutrality, and I'll use Malaysia as the example. Currently, the plastic consumption per capita in Malaysia is 76 kilogram of plastic. To achieve that plastic neutrality, that means all of us in Malaysia will need to collect 76 kilogram of plastic. And that's how we achieve that plastic neutrality as an individual. So what we are trying to do is that we are trying to digitalize it so that we can help individual plastic consumer to track how much plastic that they are actually collecting and then contributing it, to that recycling route, so that we continue to recycle more along that way. And I think, although we were saying earlier on that this is something that I envision is going to happen 50 years down the road, what I consider as the inevitable change in plastic consumption or plastic production ecosystem. That inevitable change, I don't think it will take 60 or 50 years to achieve that. I personally believe that we can achieve that a lot faster, perhaps maybe within 15 years. I think because of the arrival of COVID, the adaptation on digitalization happened a lot faster. And I think that's one of the silver lining in midst of this unfortunate pandemic. So with this digitalization, and also with the right tools and the right commitment, and suddenly with the right digitalization platform, everybody can come together right now to ensure on that circularity. I don't think it will take 15 years. I don't think it will take 50 years to achieve. I actually believe in a short 15 years we might be able to achieve that, if not sooner. For many of us in the industry, collaboration, we are very, very excited to see the collaboration that's coming together. The circularity collaboration is very, very powerful. Of course, many of us who are coming together as a circularity alliance, fellowship, and collaboration, if you will, we are making a lot of very interesting and exciting success. And I think in due time you will start to see more and more, and I really thank the organizer for organizing this amazing event, and you will see more and more of that collaborative effort that comes together to make this circularity a reality. So we talk about a lot of things today, and then so we also talk quickly about the COVID crisis, and I think in some parts of the world we are still fighting with a new wave of COVID, unfortunately. But hopefully, but we also have some hopeful results that vaccination works till now, based on whatever we've seen. And I'm also optimistic that vaccination works, based on the figures that we've seen right now. Now, the minute that we come out from this COVID crisis, unfortunately, we will then head into another climate crisis. I think the recent Earth Day on the 22nd of April, IPCC do make a presentation that mentioned about that plus 1.5 degrees Celsius is basically the cutoff point that we really have to be very careful. And until now, our Earth has actually gone up by 1.1. So we are only 0.4 degrees Celsius away from this cutoff point. And the projection is that we will hit this level by increasing the global temperature by 1.5 degrees Celsius by 2030, which is less than a decade. That's only 9 years, from now, from today. So I think then we are actually seeing big countries, big companies are coming together, joining forces. Even US and China and also Europe are collaborating together in order to fight climate change. And with this, I think the decarbonization would then become a very, very important thing. And I think digitalization will play a very important thing, play a very important role to substantiate the ESG impact. Only through digitalization that we can then measure, track, manage the impact accordingly. So I think that once we come out from COVID, we will see a lot of things will be moving in a fast track pace type of situation. And for me personally, I think one of the greatest and the most important things to watch is basically the digitalization in the sustainability space. So last, I'm coming to the end of the minute of my session here. Last, I just would like to share this with everybody, that when sustainability meets with digitalization, magic happens. So stay tuned. There's more happening in the space. Thank you for attending this session. I hope you find this helpful, constructive, and also bring more points to think about. And last but not least, let's collaborate together and let's fight together, act together to restore the Earth. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you for that lovely presentation. I hope all of you enjoyed it. And yes, thank you for attending today's webinars at EREC. And yeah, just take the time, look over the booth. They will be open all day, all night for you until Sunday. And yeah, tomorrow we will start again at 9:15 with our next webinar, this time again in German, but there will be others following in English as well. So tune in, have a look which topics are interesting to you, and I'm really eager to see all of you again. Bye bye, have a nice evening, and see you soon.